Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of the Family Chit Chat. I'm Tom Pounder, and today we're going to talk about seeing and believing. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, here's what I mean. Have you ever had a friend tell you, "Oh, I can do this," or "I've done this amazing thing," and you're like, "Wow, that's crazy," but you end up thinking, "Well, wait a second, that doesn't really make sense. I really can't believe that he or she has done this. I need to see it with my own eyes." Well, if you've ever thought like that, you're not alone. I've felt like that before as well. Well, in today's story, we're going to talk about a guy named Thomas, and we're going to talk about how he wanted to see in order to believe. See, Jesus had just risen from the dead, and everybody was talking about it, but Thomas didn't see him, and he's like, I need to see with my own eye. So what I want you to do right now is to pause the video, read this story, and answer these few questions. And I want you to see the interaction between Thomas and Jesus and what happened because of it. All right, pause the video right now, and when you're done, press play. Hey, in all reality, it's not so bad that Thomas wanted to see in order to believe. I mean, again, he needed to see it because if he didn't see it, he could just think that anybody else could just make up any sort of story about anything and it'd be true. Well, he wanted to see it in order to believe it, especially something like this, where Jesus has risen from the dead and people were talking about it. He's like, I need to see it. I need to see Jesus in order for me to believe it. Well, the thing I love about this story is that Jesus isn't afraid of our doubts. He's not afraid of our questions. He came up to Thomas and said, see, here I am, and showed him the wounds. See, I think a lot of times that we think in order to believe in Jesus, we cannot have any doubts. We cannot have any questions. But the cool thing is that Jesus embraces that and welcomes our questions and wants us to have questions because he wants to show us the truth. And the same thing with Jesus and Thomas's interaction. Jesus wanted to show Thomas the truth. And Jesus said, hey, I embrace what you're saying. I understand you have questions. Let me show you. And I believe that Jesus will do that with us with every question that we have. See, our bottom line today is, whatever happens, remember God is bigger than your questions. Hey, you may have a lot of questions about Jesus. You may have a lot of questions about God. The thing I would challenge you with is to go and ask God those questions and go and talk to him about it. Spend some time praying to him and not just talking to him, but listening to him as well and see what he does and see what he shows you. Because I believe that God wants to show you the truth. And so if you go to him with your questions, don't be afraid to. Go to him with your questions. Go to him with your doubts, and he'll answer them. I know it because I go to him all the time and ask him questions and express some doubts that I have. And Jesus answers those questions. So I want to encourage you, whatever happens, know that Jesus and know that God is bigger than your questions, and they want to answer your questions just like what they did with Thomas. All right, everyone, well, that wraps up our story. But before we go, I want to look at the memory verse that we've been looking at for the past few weeks, one last time. John 16:33. In this world you will have trouble, but be encouraged. I've won the battle over the world. Jesus and God have won the battle. So go to them with your doubts, go to them with your questions, and they will answer them for you today. Hey, if you've got stories about how God has answered your questions or Jesus has answered your doubts before, hey, put them in the comments section below. I would love to hear those stories as well. All right, everyone, well, that wraps it up. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I will see you next week with a whole new story. Have a great week, everyone.